presentation of the National Football League.
Welcome back to Chicago. We're set to begin the 2010 National Football League season. You couldn't ask for a more perfect weather day. Temperatures right at 80 degrees, very low humidity. Jim Schwartz in his second year as head coach of the Detroit Lions, won 2 games a season ago. Lovie Smith has not been to the playoffs in each of his last 3 years after taking the Bears there in back-to-back seasons. Chicago won the toss, elected to receive. So Jason Hanson puts a foot on it, spins it away. Danielle Manning from the 5-yard line. And a nice return by Manning all the way out to the 34-yard line. Jay Cutler, a Pro Bowler with Denver in 2008, came over in a trade prior to last year and led the league with 26 interceptions. Up front, an offensive line very much being questioned. A lot of changes. Williams goes from right tackle to left tackle. Garza right guard to left guard. They have a rookie at right guard, and Omiel goes from left guard to right tackle. A lot of moving parts. And we'll see if they can protect Jay Cutler. Gonna hand it off to Matt Forte, who begins his 3rd season out of Tulane after back-to-back rock-solid years to begin his career. Defensively for Detroit, this is where they think they're very much improved. And Ndamukong Suh, the number overall 2 pick, they brought in Vanden Bosch as a free agent, traded for Corey Williams. Landon Johnson fills in for the injured DeAndre Levy at middle linebacker. 7 new defensive backs on this Detroit team from a year ago. The only returning starter is Louis Delmas. They give it to Forte again. More running room this time. He's tripped up across the 40. It'll bring up 3rd down and less than 3 for Chicago on this opening drive of the game.
And here's an early test for the Chicago offense. They were middle of the pack last year in 3rd down conversions. Clearly in the new Mike Martz era, they need to be better on 3rd down to sustain drives. This is a very manageable 3rd and short.
Cutler, the 26 interceptions last year to go along with 27 touchdowns. This first throw, batted in the air and then caught by Aromashodu across midfield and still on his feet and tackled from behind all the way down to the 38-yard line. Vanden Bosch, the trailer, came all the way down the field to make the tackle.
Interesting that they would come out on a 3rd and short with a 3-wide receiver. Here you can see Aromashodu, just an inside quick drag route. And again, the fact that they're throwing the ball on 3rd and 2 tells you a little bit about the confidence that they have in Jay Cutler and what Mike Martz wants to do with this offense.
3 tight end set for Chicago. And Cutler to throw on 1st down. And he's looking for Aromashodu. And he dropped it. A perfect throw by Cutler. And he beat the safety, C.C. Brown.
Yeah, you just can't throw it any better than that. Lots of height. It came down in an angle in a very catchable way. Very typically, that ball will tend to be flat or too long. That was a perfect throw by Jay Cutler.
The Bears dropped 20 passes overall last season, which was tied with the Texans and the Jets for the fewest number in the NFL. Safety blitz, and they give it to Forte. And he's inside the 35. It'll bring up 3rd down and 5 for Chicago.
Well, we're already beginning to see some of the trademark of Mike Martz is in the way they move around, the way they're shifting. Here you can see just this is not preseason anymore, folks. The intensity, I don't know that I can really explain to people how different it is going from the preseason to the regular season. These are the same guys doing the same things, but the energy level, the passion, you can't quantify it.
Romashadu again, and another first down to the 24.
Mike Martz is very comfortable with the athletes he has to run his system right now. He likes his receiving core. It's a little young. He's deep at the tight end position, and he loves his running backs. 2 third downs, 2 conversions, both going to Romashadu.
Horace Martz, the orchestrator of the greatest show on turf with St. Louis. And Cutler, great protection, and that's Devin Hester. And it's first and goal, Chicago. He's run out of bounds at the 7-yard line. What a very impressive opening drive.
They're opting for protection here, Tom. One of the things they've been criticized in preseason, I want you to watch the tight ends on the right side. They're off the hip. Look at, they're both staying in. They're chipping. They're committing right now in a 2 tight end set with Olsen and Manu. I knew I'd mix that up.
Manu Maliuna.
Yeah,
it's not easy.
But they're committing to protection, and that's different for the Martz system.
They pitch it to Forte, who tries to turn the corner and is unable to do so.
And that was one of the questions coming in, Tom. They've got great talent at the tight end position. They already had it coming in with Greg Olsen. They have Desmond Clark, Kellen Davis, but they actually went out and got Manu Maliuna in addition to it. Hey, I nailed it. I actually get paid extra anytime I get to say his name, and I hope I say it a lot. But that's a deep tight end core, and I've been interested in seeing exactly how they're going to use it.
Second down and goal. 9th play of this drive. Empty backfield, short drop, pump fake. Cutler looking around. And he'll keep it himself, and he's tackled at the 2-yard line, which will bring up 3rd and goal. Of course, Cutler struggled so frequently with turnovers and interceptions inside the red zone a season ago.
And nothing kills you more than a turnover in the red zone. You take a game like their Chicago game last year, or excuse me, the 49er game last year. It was a 10-6 loss. He threw 5 interceptions. Just throw 1 less, and for goodness sakes, don't throw an interception in scoring position.
Johan Asiata brought in an extra big body on his 3rd down and goal, and denied. The end zone is Forte. Decision early on for Lovie Smith. Do you go for it on 4th down?
Well, you always want to send a message to your team about I believe in you, but to not come away after a nice opening drive with no points whatsoever, you're going to kick the field goal. Passion says, hey, I want to go in there and show you I love you guys, I believe in you, but prudence says I'm going to take the 3 points. I want to reward this long drive in the opening drive of the season.
A 20-yard field goal try for Robbie Gould, the 3rd most accurate kicker in NFL history. Robbie Gould sets up at the 10 and bangs it through. So Gould gives Chicago the 3-0 lead. Jay Cutler hits on 3 of 4 for 46 yards.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com.
Play 64 yards, chewing up nearly 6 minutes against Ndamukong Suh and company. Chicago the 3-0 lead. Wind is really not a factor at all here today. Generally, that is not the story in Chicago. And no sooner do you say that, the ball blows off the tee.
But the sun might be. We may see on some of the punts here, Tom, because it is a bright sun. That may give the returners some trouble.
And it's Stefan Logan just brought in after being let go by Pittsburgh prior to the season opener. And he'll take a knee. So when we come back, we get a look at Matthew Stafford and the Detroit offense with lots of weapons.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Bud Light. It's the sure sign of a good time. Here we go.
Matthew Stafford, the 2nd-year quarterback out of Georgia. The first pick in the 1st round in last year's draft. Started 10 games for the Lions. And he has a rookie running back behind him in Javid Best. Best his first carry in the National Football League. And he picks up maybe a yard. Talked about all the weapons that Stafford has with him on offense this year, starting with Best, who fills in for the injured Kevin Smith. Calvin Johnson, of course, their dynamic receiver, and got help this year with Nate Burleson. And up front, Raiola and Backus have been around for 10 years together. Rob Sims brought in as a free agent from Seattle to try and clean things up at that left guard position. Jerome Felton, the fullback, out to the 25. It'll bring up a 3rd and 5. Let's go back to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for a game break.
A lot of folks are wondering when, if at all, Wes Welker would be back this season. Look at this. First touchdown on Sunday of the NFL campaign. Tom Brady to Wes Welker, 9 yards. New England has the lead over Cincinnati, 7-0. Back to Tom and Brian.
Thank you so much, Kurt. Here it's 3-0 Chicago. It's a 3rd and 4. Stafford too tall to the intended receiver, Nate Burleson. It's 3 and out.
Stafford had lots of time in there to read that out. This, like the Bears, has been an area that Detroit's got to get better. They were 24th in the league in 3rd down conversion, and what was worse, Stafford threw half of his interceptions on 3rd down. Both of those have got to be corrected.
Devin Hester has run back 7 punts for touchdowns in his career, although it's been a while. It's been 3 years since he's run one back. Poor punt by Nick Harris. Although it takes a pretty decent bounce, Hester will pick it up at the 39, and he stepped out of bounds. So right back on offense, Cutler and company after the 35-yard punt with a 3-0 lead.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Jeep. By FedEx, we understand you need a winning game plan. FedEx. And by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Bears get the football for the 2nd time. This drive begins at their own 39-yard line with a 3-0 lead. Devin Hester in the slot. Play action by Cutler. Under heavy heat. And throws it up in the air. And it's incomplete. There's a penalty flag down on the field. Roughly back behind the line of scrimmage.
Personal foul. Roughing the passer. Defense number 92. Contact to the helmet. 15 yards. Automatic. First down.
Vanden Bosch applied the initial pressure, and then Averill whistled for roughing the passer, Jay Cutler.
We're just going to, obviously, it came at the end of the play. Lots of time here. Scrambles to the outside, late throw. It's the hit to the head. It's the hit by Averill with the hit to the head that brings about the penalty. Anytime you hit a quarterback around the head, it's going to bring a penalty.
So 1st and 10 after the penalty, and Cutler forced out of the pocket, rolling, flag down again as Cutler tiptoes out of bounds inside the 30, but I believe this one's coming back. It'll be holding against Chicago.
Holding. Offense. Number 63. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Gene Steratore, our referee today.
Well, Roberto Garza starting out on the left side. Last year he was the right guard. Anytime a play, and Mike Tice has got to know that's frustrating, because anytime a play takes that long for the quarterback and you've got to hold that long to keep him off the quarterback, typically that's where a holding penalty shows up.
So 1st and 20. From their own 43. Forte spins out of one tackle, but just does get back to the line of scrimmage.
All right, Tom, we got a new element for you here. It's called Billick 101. You can audit the course. You don't have to pay for this. But let's look right here. Ndamukong Suh right here. Watch. You have any doubt about his ability to come off the ball? What do you have to do as a defensive lineman? Replace your hand with the first step. That means an aggressive first step. Stay low. He stayed pretty low there. And have that violent 6-inch punch. That's a Chuck Noll term that says in close proximity, can you deliver a violent blow? That man can.
That was a 3rd down and goal stop by Suh and the Lions on Chicago's opening drive. Now a 2nd down and 19. Cutler rolls right and run out of bounds under pressure.
You know, we're seeing a lot of different ways here that Mike Martz is trying to keep pressure off of Jay Cutler. We've seen them keep 2 tight ends in to secure the edge. We've now seen him twice by design roll outside just to move the pocket a little bit. Mike Martz knows he needs to let this reshuffled offensive line settle in before he gets to too much of his patented 5 out, 5 blockers. Let the quarterback handle the rush on his own.
3rd down and 20. Butler throws down the middle of the field, batted and intercepted. Aaron Berry, the rookie, an undrafted free agent out of Pitt, with the interception and brings it back to the 42-yard line. It appeared as though Cutler threw in to triple coverage down the middle of the field, and that is a recipe for disaster. Aaron Berry, a 3-year starter at Pitt, an undrafted free agent. Gunther Cunningham, the Lions defensive coordinator, said, "We got lucky. This kid has a chance to be special," and making an impact in the very opening quarter of his first NFL game with an interception. Play action, and Stafford throws inside the 40. The catch is made by Tony Scheffler, his first as a Lion.
Now we got to go back to the interception here. 3rd and 20 now. I know you want to convert, but right here at the top, stop it right at the top right there. That's a lot of folks to be dealing with. That would take an unbelievably accurate throw. And then look at the play of Julian Peterson. This is a guy that had 10 sacks in 2006. They want him to drop more into coverage. Excellent job there of tipping the ball.
They pitch it to Best. Urlacher leading the charge. Back and healthy again is Brian Urlacher after getting injured in the season opener last year and missed the remainder of the season.
Yeah, the linebacking core of the Bears has long been a strength, and it's got to be again this year because they're penalties on 3rd down. Just
personal foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 90, contact to the quarterback helmet. 15 yards added to the end of the run. 1st down.
Well, Julius Peppers, you just got done talking about him, Tom. We'll see. I imagine as we see him coming in here to our left, again, we see it again. You cannot go to the head of a quarterback. You can like it, you cannot like it. It's going to get called.
So it's an automatic 1st down at the 19-yard line. The Lions trailing 3-0. Stafford, good protection. Drops it off for Jahvid Best. Best not only an outstanding runner at Cal, but a fabulous receiver as well. During his collegiate career, racked up over 65 receptions. He's out of Richmond, California. He was the second of 2 first-round draft picks for the Lions this year. They got Ndamukong Suh with a 2nd pick and Best with a 30th pick. Jump ball to the end zone. The catch is made, but no, out of bounds as they try to throw it up there to Calvin Johnson.
Well, this falls back to the emphasis of the rule, or the change of the rule last year. There is no such thing as a force out. So this is good contact. This is a big target, and Calvin Johnson drags that foot. They might think about challenging that one, but that might have been a force out rule in previous years, but obviously the rule now says that does not exist. Both feet have got to come in bounds.
3rd down and 8. They need to get to the 9-yard line. Scheffler got a block from Sherilus and is inside the 10, down to the 7, and that's the first down. Let's go back to Los Angeles and check in with Curt Menefee for a game break.
And we'll check in on the Raiders and Titans. Vince Young and the Titans finished 8-2 last year, picking up where they left off. Young hooking up with Nate Washington for a 56-yard score. They lead the Raiders early, 7-3. Tom and Brian.
Thank you so much, Mr. Menefee. 1st and goal for the Lions. They spread them out.
Got a lot of size on the outside. At some point, we may see one of those patented jump balls to one of these big receivers.
They spread him out and then hand it off to Jahvid Best to the end zone. A touchdown. Got a lead block from Steven Peterman, who sprung him loose, and Best finds the end zone in the very first quarter in the first game of his NFL career. So they take advantage of a Jay Cutler interception, and Detroit has taken a lead.
Well, and you could see the burst that young man has. Had he not gotten hurt in his senior year or his last year at Cal, he'd have had monster numbers. This guy's got explosion, and he's got great anticipation as well.
Yeah, Best played in just 9 games last year with Cal. After elbow surgery and an injured toe, hands it on for the point after. It is good. 7 plays, 58 yards.
Watch the burst here, Tom. Just boom. He sees the hole, drops his shoulder, and all of a sudden he's through it.
After that very important roughing the passer call against Julius Peppers. 42 yards total in 7 plays. The best 7-yard touchdown. Detroit leads 7-3. Hanson puts a foot on it. Danielle Manning will bring it out 3 yards deep from his own end zone. And a good return by Manning to the 25. Of course, this opening weekend on NFL on Fox doubleheader. A very interesting matchup is our lead game coming up shortly. The Packers and the Eagles from Philadelphia. The Eagles no longer with Donovan McNabb at quarterback. And a new quarterback in Arizona, no longer Kurt Warner and not Matt Leinart. It will be Derek Anderson in St. Louis today.
Well, we drafted Derek in Baltimore. I'm glad to see him have another opportunity now to see if he can establish himself as a starter.
Final 2 minutes of the opening quarter. And a first news of the offseason on the very first day of free agency. They brought Ted Maliuna and the big time Julius Peppers for nearly $100 million.
Well, Chester Taylor, again, someone we drafted in Baltimore, maybe the best 3rd down back in the league.
Cutler rolls, throws to a wide open Johnny Knox to the 42 of Detroit. Knox caught 45 passes as a rookie a season ago.
We're seeing some very good movement by Jay Cutler within the pocket. They faked the draw here. You can see he's going to give a quick fake to the draw. They had just run it. Now he gets quickly flushed to the left side, moving around in the pocket. We've seen him move a great deal. You got to be impressed. He's just got to stay away from those 3rd and 20 interceptions, and he's going to be fine.
Taylor remains in the backfield. They give it to Chester. And a good carry inside the 35 to 33. That'll be a gain of 8, tripped up by Aaron Berry.
And this is the way you can use Chester Taylor. As I said, maybe one of the best third down backs in the league. He's excellent at protection. He catches the ball very, very well. This is a guy that he can be a 300 carry guy. He just happens to be in the backfield with a now healthy Matt Forte. Great 1-2 punch for the Bears.
And there's Taylor as a receiver, still on his feet, and stopped at the 20-yard line. They'll move the chains again. And that will be the final play of the opening quarter. Cutler in the first quarter has hit on 5 of 7 for 91 yards, an interception. His team trails 7-3, and Fox NFL Sunday will continue after these messages. So we begin the second quarter at Soldier Field in Chicago in front of a sellout crowd on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. You settling down a little bit there, big fella? I mean, you were fired up from 8:30 this morning.
This is Detroit, Chicago, the home of NFL football. I ain't going to be settled down the whole day.
First down. And Taylor slips a tackle down to the 16. You go back to when you drafted him in Baltimore.
Yeah, Chester Taylor, and he's clearly going to be their guy when they're in 3 wides. Chester Taylor, we took out of the 6th round from Toledo, but we had Jamal Lewis, great substitution player for us. He then goes to Minnesota to be the guy, has a 300-plus carry year, does a great job. They draft Adrian Peterson, so now he comes here. This guy is capable of being the lead back, but he's a definite role player that's willing to do whatever you ask of him.
Butler, quick throw on second down, juggled and caught. No catch by Aroma Shadu. So a third down upcoming, and let's send it back to Los Angeles for a game break to Kurt Menefee.
Well, good job there, Tom. A couple of easier names to pronounce. Eli Manning and Hakeem Nicks score the first touchdown in the new Meadowlands for the New York Football Giants. 26 yards on the score, and they lead Carolina 7-3, just ending the first quarter. Tom, Brian?
Well, you're not lying, Kurt. We have Manu Maliuna, Tino Isamo. They're trying. Third down and 7. Cutler to Aroma Shadu. And he is dropped at the 10, very close to a first down. There is a penalty flag on the near sideline. Well, a couple of things going on here. Did he get to the first down stick? And what's the infraction? And Aaron Berry shaken up, helped off the field on the same play.
They look to be short of the third down. We'll see if a penalty will make a difference here.
Illegal use of the hands in the face, defense, number 24, 5-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
That's Chris Houston, a starter for the last 3 years for Atlanta, and came over in a trade during this offseason. No, they're saying Jonathan Wade, I beg your pardon, 3 years with Seattle, St. Louis, and then came over during the offseason.
And we're seeing down here, this is a killer penalty on a third down. The hands to the face. If it happened very quickly. The hard thing is it's an automatic first down. I don't know. That looked pretty pedestrian to me.
Boy, you're not lying. So a first down. Cutler rolling. Lays it off for his tight end, Greg Olsen. And the ball is loose. Olsen fumbled the football. The Lions say they have it, and they are right.
Goodness gracious. Goodness gracious.
First catch of the day by Olsen, who led the Bears with 60 receptions a season ago, and he coughs it up inside the 10.
Well, we've already talked about the turnover-plagued Bears last year via interceptions. Doesn't matter how you turn it over. You turn it over in the red zone. This is points off the board. Guaranteed, codlock, probably 3 points. And now the momentum that does for Detroit.
And this was Chris Houston, the man we were talking about a moment ago, He's the one that jarred it loose from Olsen. And then Julian Peterson covered it up.
This Detroit defense is put together with some people coming from other teams. Julian Peterson, Seattle. Chris Houston from Atlanta. They've pieced this thing together in a very creative way.
Jerome Felton, the tight end, is chopped down after picking up a couple of yards on first down by DJ Moore. Of course, the Bears last year, we talked about all the interceptions that Cutler threw inside the red zone. As a team, they turned it over 7 times inside the red zone behind only Jacksonville and St. Louis.
And when you're 7-9, that there just alone could be the difference between 7-9 and 9-7 and maybe a playoff run.
Pass dropped for a loss back at the 5-yard line by Mark Anderson, who had the outstanding rookie year when he had 12 sacks. He only has 9.5 in 3 years since, and actually has lost his starting job to Israel Adonijah.
I want to see what Scott Linehan does here. We're going to see just what kind of confidence they have now in their second-year quarterback. 3rd and long in the shadow of your own goal line. Let's see what they're willing to let Matthew Stafford do.
And you mentioned earlier, half of his interceptions came on 3rd and long, 7 or more yards last year. They're going to hand it off. Urlacher, the first one there, had help from Briggs, and so the Lions from their own end zone will punt it away.
You know, Lovie Smith talked about, he had a grin on his face and kind of got excited talking about Urlacher, how healthy, not just because of the wrist, but how the rest of his body's been allowed to heal up as he rehabbed the wrist.
Harris puts a foot on it, a much better punt this time. Harris to Devin Hester, who crosses midfield and brings it to the 43 of Detroit. So excellent field position with 11:33 to play after the 10-yard return.
Game on Fox is sponsored by Progressive, making insurance better. By Pizza Hut, your favorite place to serve your favorite pizza. Your favorites, your Pizza Hut. And by Toyota.
Get a look at the numbers for Jay Cutler. 6 out of 9, 95 yards. Took them down the field on their opening possession of the game, which they had to settle for a field goal. And right back in the lineup is Forte. And right there to meet him for a gain of 1 yard is Julian Peterson.
Well, you can see here, this is on the Detroit sideline, zebra. That's a 3 wides personnel. They are telling their defensive players the offensive grouping that the Chicago's Bears have on the field. This obviously means some form of 3 wides, 1 tight end. This is how they're communicating the multiple personnel groupings of the Chicago Bears to their defense.
Well, caught a 2nd and 10. Cutler steps up and drops it off to Forte out of the backfield, and he gets inside the 40 to the 38-yard line, and Cutler is slow to get back to his feet. He took a lick.
Kyle Vanden Bosch took a pretty good shot. You can see him coming off the edge here, and we're going to see it's probably not called, even though it's late. Clean hit, no hit to the helmet, hand to the helmet like we saw in the 2 previous penalties. Nice clean hit by Vanden Bosch, but I promise you, Jay Cutler's feeling it right now.
So it brings up a 3rd down and 4. Bears trying to take advantage of outstanding field position on this drive with 10 minutes to go until halftime. Cutler throws it behind Aroma Shadu, and the Bears will have to punt after taking over inside Detroit territory.
Well, that's a combination probably for that young man, Jay Cutler. If I just got knocked on my backside, I've thrown an interception on 3rd down. We could be in scoring position. Looked like he was a little tight with the throw. That was an easy throw with a little drag route underneath. Just a bad throw by Jay Cutler.
So Brad Maynard will punt from midfield. He is the league leader since 1997 of pinning the opposition inside the 20. There is a flag down all the way back to where Logan came up to pick up the punt.
Something happened on that right side with Jonathan Wade. I don't know if it was on Wade or someone looked like they may have gone down and tried to take a shot at him below the waist. We'll have to see what they call. This could help pull Detroit out of a bit of a hold.
And it appears, just looking at the officials' jerseys, as though the wind is picking up down there on the field.
It could, and of course this is the Windy City and it's never going to stay calm for too long.
During the kick, holding number 24 of the receiving team. Penalty is half the distance to the goal. First down, Detroit. Timeout.
That is the second very important penalty against Jonathan Wade, playing in his first game as a Lion. Under 10 minutes to play until halftime. Detroit with a 7-3 lead, all the scoring in the opening quarter. And now Urlacher and the Chicago defense will go to work as the Lions start this drive at the 5-yard line. That'll be Java Best for a yard, maybe 2. Urlacher, the 6-time Pro Bowler, a Rookie of the Year, a Defensive Player of the Year, and boy, is he Chicago Bears football.
Oh, just look in the eyes, you know, and as I spoke earlier about with Lovie Smith, just excited about being healthy. I don't know that he's been this healthy for 2 years. To have a healthy Brian Urlacher back in the center of your defense, got to give you a real comfort zone, allow you to sleep better at night.
Good protection, and it's dropped by Felton, perhaps hearing the footsteps of Urlacher. Let's go to Kurt Menefee for a game break in Los Angeles.
A lot of people jumping on the Houston Texans bandwagon this year. Here's a good reason why. Matt Schaub hooking up with Kevin Walter, 22 yards on the score, and the Texans lead Indy 13-0 in the second quarter. Tom and Brian, I'm sure you guys know, 15-1 all-time Indy's record against Houston.
And a good start today for Matt Schaub. Well, what a stunner that would be in week 1. 3rd and 8, they handed it off in this spot the last time. They're going to let Stafford throw it this time. But denied first down yardage on the catch is Best. It's 3 and out again for the Lions.
And the Lions are dealing with a bad hand in the sense that they've been pinned down. But again, this goes back to the trust and the development of Matthew Stafford. His ability to pull his team out of a bad field position with a throw on 2nd or 3rd down so far hasn't been able to do it in the last 2 series.
Second straight punt for Nick Harris out of his own end zone. And this one, another good one. Flag comes in. Hester from his own 45 turns a corner and tripped up at the 47, but we wait on the penalty.
We're apt to see another holding call here that should back the Bears up, help the Detroit Lions a little bit with this negative field position that they've been in.
Personal foul. Return team number 81. Blocking a player while he was out of bounds during the kick. The 15-yard penalty will be assessed from the end of the kick. First down, Chicago. Timeout.
That's Rasheed Davis.
Just Rasheed Davis, too long holding the block out of bounds, can't do it.
Today's game is sponsored by Coors Light, the new silver bullet aluminum pint from Coors Light, official beer sponsor of the NFL.
.8:17 to play until halftime, and Chicago with the football after the penalty. will start this drive from its own 31-yard line. Play fake to Forte, and Cutler throws across the field to Olsen, who fumbled on his only other reception and has stood up. Crowd wanted a penalty flag. It's not going to happen. Stop made by Julian Peterson. Turnovers always a big part of the game.
Always. Here on a 3rd and 20, a turnover that led to a long drive by Detroit for a score, but it's also turnovers in the red zone that leads to you not getting points. And in a tight game like this, into 7-3, you're taking points off the board. A double whammy against the Chicago Bears that they got to kind of figure out. They got to solve the puzzle here for these turnovers.
10-yard penalty. Replay first down.
On the far side of the field, I'm not even sure that the referee, Gene Steratore, saw the flag, and the line judge coming up to him quickly and saying, hey, I threw a flag on this, and it's holding against Brandon Manu-Maliuna, going in his first game as a Bear after signing that big 5-year contract. Spent the last 4 seasons in San Diego, his first 5 in the league with St. Louis. Wide open, Aromashodu, and that is a first down to the 42-yard line. A pleasure to be joined by the 3rd member of our broadcast team today. Let's say hello to Carissa Thompson.
Hello, gentlemen. Well, the Bears are trying to get things going after that last series. Jay Cutler came over to the sideline, had his head down for quite some time. Combination of the frustration of turning the ball over in the red zone and obviously that big hit. No one really talking except offensive line coach Mike Tice, and Olin Kreutz got up in Jay Cutler's face, said a few things, and then finished with let's go. So trying to make a move here and inject some life into the Bears offense, guys.
Carissa, thank you so much. And Cutler throws down the middle of the field, and Olsen was defended beautifully on the back end by Louis Delmas. You know, Cutler, hearing that report by Carissa Thompson, Cutler is the kind of guy where he doesn't show a lot of emotion, and Chicago is all about emotion. I mean, all those players from the great Bears teams in the 1980s, a volatile head coach, Mike Ditka, they're not getting that from Lovie Smith, and they don't get at least a lot of outward passion from their perceived leader, Cutler.
And sometimes I think we put too much value on that, but it's that double combination. If not from him, where's it going to come from? I think that's a valid observation.
Great protection, and knocks the catch. Another first down to the 44-yard line. A gain of 15 to Johnny Knox.
This is a classic Mike Martz combination. I'm going to throw to the area, even though I don't know that the receiver that I can see him. Mike Martz's system is all about throwing to an area. You, receiver, you need to be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing in this system.
Of course, Martz had unpleasant endings in St. Louis, a couple of years in Detroit, and also in San Francisco. Was out of the game last year as they lay it off to Forte. And he's inside the 30. Ball is loose and picked up by Detroit. That is a 3rd turnover in the game by Chicago.
And Chicago's right now wondering, should we challenge this? Was he down by contact? Let's watch it here. Clearly there's contact. When does the ball come out? He lands on the defender. That looks like a fumble. We're going to get a better view of it here. If he's not down, the ball is starting. See, the ball's out. That's clearly, they're not going to waste their time on a review there. This is the Detroit Lions ball. Again, 3 key turnovers by the Chicago Bears, Tom. This is a tough combination, particularly early in the season. They're trying to hustle up so that we don't get a review.
And they get off the snap. They don't review it. And Best, a gain of close to 10 on first down. Crowd is booing, but even had they gotten in a challenge, it was pretty clear C.C. Brown had stripped that ball out of the arms of Matt Forte. It was a fumble.
And I don't know what they saw on the Jumbotrons or whatever they got going in this stadium. They may not have seen what we've seen. They may have been booing the Bears for their 3rd turnover, too.
That's a legitimate possibility. There's a sense of uneasiness before this season even began here in Chicago. About this team, that should have been an interception, and perhaps 6 the other way. It was tipped initially at the line of scrimmage and then through the hands of Danielle Manning. Right now, let's go to Kurt Menefee in Los Angeles for another game break.
Tom Brady earning that new contract. Wes Welker earning even more respect. His second touchdown of the game for Welker. New England on top of Cincinnati 17-0. Tom and Brian, too early for Welker as comeback player of the year?
He's comeback player of the game. I'll give him that.
Third down, and they run the ball. And Best very close to the first down marker. He had to get just on maybe the Bears side of the 50. And it looks like he has enough. It is a first down.
And I find it interesting that you've got Java Best, all 5'9½", 199 pounds, on a third and short. That tells you the trust that Scott Linehan has in this young man. As he told us, he has no anxiousness about this young man at all. To run the ball in protection, unlike you would normally have with a rookie, he's got a great deal of confidence in Java Best.
Maurice Morris checks into the backfield, and he'll take the swing pass from Stafford and picks up 3. I mentioned earlier that Detroit playing without Kevin Smith, third-year back out of Central Florida, who's led them in rushing in each of the last 2 years. He had a repaired ACL to the knee, missed the final 3 games of last year. He's healthy and doing well. Perhaps could be back as early as next week, and there you get a look at Kevin Smith, who's had a good start to his career. Best not nearly as powerful as Smith. He is more explosive than Smith, but I tell you, Smith is a very underrated back.
He is, and it's a pretty good 1-2 punch when he comes back and is indeed healthy. That's going to be a nice change-up 1-2 punch for the Detroit Lions as they continue on into the season.
Smith not only rushing for over 1,700 yards his first 2 years in the league, he caught 80 passes his first 2 years. Third down. And they convert on the slant to Tony Scheffler, a native of Chelsea, Michigan. Grew up a Lions fan until he signed with Denver after graduating from Western Michigan, and he is a very valuable weapon for Matthew Stafford this season.
And they went to specifically get Tony Scheffler. Scott Linehan very much likes the 2 tight end package. They love their second-year player Brandon Pettigrew, but they wanted someone to complement. They created a 3-way trade with Philadelphia, sent Ernie Sims to Philadelphia to get him out of Denver.
First down give is to Best, and pursued nicely by Tino Isamoa, who, much like Urlacher, saw very little time at all last season with Chicago. Was injured like Urlacher in the opener, tried to come back a month later against Atlanta, was re-injured, only played in 2 years. He led the Rams 4 of his 6 years in tackles.
You talk about Urlacher, Briggs, and Tina Isamoa. That's a pretty good threesome right there to go with a pretty solid defensive line with Tommy Harris on the inside and now Julius Peppers on the outside.
Stafford on 2nd and 11, looking down the field. Great protection. It's Morris out of the backfield, and he bursts through a couple of defenders and slips inside the 25. And that will take us to the 2-minute warning, with Detroit knocking on the door, trying to add to a 7-3 lead.
Telecast is copyrighted by the NFL for the private use of our audience. Any other use of this telecast or of any pictures, descriptions, or accounts of the game without the NFL's consent is prohibited.
The Detroit Lions did not win a game 2 years ago. Went 2-14 under Jim Schwartz, his first year as head coach last year. They've lost 20 consecutive road games. And here they are, the 2-minute warning of the first half with a 7-3 lead in Chicago.
Java Best on the outside, and they look for a matchup at some point.
Blitz coming, Detroit picks it up, and an open receiver is Nate Burleson inside the 5, down to the 4. First and goal for the Lions. And great protection there for Stafford.
Nice job by Stafford. I want you to watch how he scans to the left. Okay, moves the secondary, moves the safety, then comes back and delivers a very accurate throw to Nate Burleson. Nice job by the quarterback.
Quick snap, they give it to Best. Did he get to the end zone? The Lions are saying touchdown. And it looks like he will be inches short.
Again, nice job. Watch the burst. We keep talking about the burst here. Needs to get the pads down just a little. Of course, he ran into his own lineman. Looks like clearly he did not get into the end zone. We may have a challenge here.
The previous play is under review.
I misspoke. Not a challenge, of course. We're inside of 2 minutes. The challenge coming from the booth to see if he did break the line.
So they will take a look to see if Best got in. If not, it's second and inches from inside the 1. Our replay video operator is Mike Wimmer. Paul Wiedner, the replay assistant. They're taking a look at whether or not Best broke the plane.
It looks like as he comes in, he breaks the line. Looks like he can't not get in. But as he starts to spin out, comes in here and shuts him right there. I'm not sure the ball crosses the plane. It looks to me as though the call will stand.
And that was the call on the field that Best did not break the plane to score a touchdown. This is a booth review.
After review, it has been determined that the runner did break the goal line with the football. It is a touchdown, Detroit. With the game clock operator.
Like I said, clearly the ball crossed the line, saw it all the way.
1:30 on the game clock.
Yeah, it's interesting. Again, it's got to be incontrovertible to overturn the call. Let's see again. And at some point, somewhere within here, right? Ah, boy, I don't know. I think we need the U.S. Open Hawkeye to see where that falls on the line, because my old eyes aren't seeing that. But right now, the Detroit Lions will take it any way they can get it.
So for the point after, it's Jason Hanson in his 19th year with the Detroit Lions. Boy, he has seen the good, a lot of bad, and he has to be extremely excited about what he's watching in the season opener today. The Lions a 14-3 lead. Well, again this year, weekdays make lunchtime your prime time with lunch with benefits on FoxSports.com, and watch one-of-a-kind sports shows online from your computer Monday through Friday at 1 o'clock Eastern. Coach Speak with our main man, Brian Billick. Some of the biggest coaches in the game, and get ready for another helping of lunch with benefits. We kick off season 2 at FoxSports.com. The Lions with a 14-3 lead. A minute 30 left for Jay Cutler and Chicago on offense, and the Bears have all 3 of their timeouts remaining. Very short kick, and Danielle Manning at the 10-yard line is leveled at the 19-yard line. Well, Brian Billick, you take a look at what's happened so far here today, and you thought that this might be the single most important game for each of the 2 teams in a season opener, and Detroit has shown up.
Well, you talk about Jim Schwartz, and he said, you know, I know I got to get this organization to where we're not celebrating a single win, but a divisional win on the road against the Chicago Bears would be as big a win as they've had here in a long time.
So 1:25 left until halftime, and Cutler works out of the shotgun and drops it off to Forte. Luther throws his shoulder into the Detroit tackler. There is a flag on the play. And again, slow to get up is Cutler.
Offense, number 74. 10-yard
That'll be
penalty.
Chris Williams, their left tackle, who had a very difficult time in the preseason. He's a #1 draft pick 3 years ago, and they're waiting for Williams to deliver on a #1 pick.
Well, the last thing you want to do inside of a minute 18. Right now, minimal goals for Chicago. Let's not put the ball back in the hands of Detroit, whether it be a turnover or on downs. This is a big series for them emotionally going into the half.
Looked like Cutler may have injured his ankle. They go right back to Forte out of the backfield. A big gain here. A first down and maybe a touchdown. Forte being chased, and he will score. On the touchdown by Forte.
Did I say something about emotion going into the half? Boy, talk about a turnaround of emotion. The Detroit Lions feeling so good about going into the half up 14-3, get a little loose with their coverage and tackling in the open field, and now right now the Chicago Bears have totally turned the emotional tide of the game going into the half.
The previous play is being reviewed.
Well, the only thing they could be reviewing here is, did he maybe step out of bounds somewhere along the line running down the sideline? That would be huge for these Lions now. The emotional shift of, we've just gone 90 some odd yards for a big play. Now we've got to come back onto the field.
Good block there by Olin Kreutz on Julian Peterson.
The foot goes on the outside. Well, we got no view here. They're going to have to show a different view to see if they want to overturn this. It would have been in that 10-yard area because he's clearly in the rest of the way. They're going to have to see more than that to overturn that. And if they do, boy, they may empty the stands here. They may storm the gates if they rule this.
You know, Forte, a young man who has really slowed down after a great rookie season with leg injuries and worked so hard on his conditioning to find that speed again.
Well, they are excited about Matt Forte. We had him a couple times in his rookie year. Tom had a great rookie season, was just not healthy last year, as you talked about, and he is feeling good. Yeah, and I don't know that as we see the reviews here, they're going to need something different than what we're seeing to overturn this one.
Boy, he's so close.
And the official was right on top of it. Whoever this official is running down the sideline there, I don't see it. We'll see here. Maybe we get an angle. And you can see the official right here. He's looking right at it. He's got a pretty good view of it.
That's Mike Weatherford, the side judge.
Yeah, I hadn't seen anything yet that'll turn this thing over. So, what are you talking about? A turn of emotion. And what a difference the Chicago Bears had to be dragging themselves into the locker room at half. Lovie Smith doing whatever his version of a butt chewing was going to be. And now the stem of emotion now for Jim Schwartz. How do I calm my guys? We had a pretty good first half.
Review. The ruling on the field stands. It is a touchdown.
Well, if there was ever a song that was made for that kind of situation, they were playing it here at Soldier Field. The waiting is the hardest part.
Yeah, I don't know that I want to be the guy that stands up and says that thing stepped out of bounds. God, you got to love the emotion in this game, don't you?
No
right
doubt.
When you think it's a certain way, boom, it changes in a span of about 5 seconds.
And we still have 1:03 left to play.
Yeah, absolutely.
Bold for the point after. And that makes it a 14-10 game. 89 yards on a touchdown reception by Matt Forte. Well, the college football season well underway, and the Big Ten Network has a full slate of games. Looking ahead to Saturday, how about the Buckeyes of Ohio State? After rolling over Miami yesterday, taking on one of the great academic institutions in America, Ohio University next week. Some will see Michigan. What a win they had over Notre Dame.
Big one over Notre Dame.
Some will see Illinois and Northern Illinois. Another regional action. Check local listings for the game in your area. Injured Bear. or Lyon, I beg your pardon, on the field. I believe that's Cliff Averill. Of course, he's a product of the Big Ten, not of Purdue University.
That would be a big loss for the Lions. You know, Cliff Averill doesn't get a lot of pub, but, you know, it's been a consistent 4- and 5-sack guy with Dominican Sue inside, Corey Williams. They got lots of beef inside. Van den Bosch brought to the outside. That's a nice combination for them. Hopefully this is just a little bit of a tweak.
Well, you certainly hope he's all right.
Well, this is something now for the Detroit Lions. You think you're going in with a 14-3 lead. This is a challenge for Jim Schwartz's Lions, their young quarterback Matthew Stafford. How are you going to respond? We saw the way Chicago responded for not getting down and letting their circumstance overwhelm them. Now Jim Schwartz is going to find out about his young team and how do they respond to the emotional change.
All right, Brian, I want to take you back to the sideline. You won a Super Bowl as a head coach with the Baltimore Ravens. Spent many years as offensive coordinator prior to that in Minnesota. You have a 4-point lead on the road with 1:03 left to play until halftime. If you get decent field position, I'm not talking about a return back to the Chicago 40. But if you get the ball somewhere beyond your own 30-35 yard line after this kick return, do you give Stafford a shot to take you down the field?
If you're going to be a legitimate team going forward, if Matthew Stafford's going to be a legitimate big league quarterback, yes. At some point, you've got to let him, give him the keys to the car, let him take it out. I know this is a critical situation, but where else are you going to learn, Tom, except in these situations? Can my young man lead a team after an emotionally charged couple minutes and keep under control and move our team back into scoring position?
Stephon Logan from the 2. So they get a pretty decent return. That's right where I asked you the question. In between the 30-35 yard line, depending on the spot. We'll see where they mark it, right at the 35. So 57 seconds left, and coming up on the Visa halftime report, Kurt, Terry, Howie, Michael, and Jimmy will have scores and highlights from around the league and the Fox Sports ticker as up to the second scores and stats. So you're thinking they're going to let him throw it?
Yeah, I mean, we just want to get field goal right now. We'll take a touchdown. We're about 30, maybe 35 yards away from field position for a score. That's the big hill for a climber.
Stafford step, fires, catch made by Scheffler. He's out of bounds after a gain of 6.
I want to bring the attention to our fans here now. Nice little situation here for us. We're going to tell you how many timeouts a team has here. In the instance here, Detroit lost a timeout. Up on our Fox box here, you can see how many timeouts remain. It's going to help me because I always lose track of the timeouts.
Stafford, good protection. And again finds a tight end, Scheffler. Very close to a first down. It is a first down. Out to the 45 yard line. Clock running, and
yeah, at some point you don't want to leave those those timeouts in your pocket. They decided not to kill the ball here. They're letting him run the offense. About 20 yards away.
15 seconds there. Sacked. And ball is loose. And all the way down to the 22. Penalty flags all over the field. The hit was made by Julius Peppers to jar it loose. Tommy Harris picked it up. Stafford appears to be shaken up. Boy, and that's not a good sign. That's his throwing arm down along his leg.
He's carrying, hopefully it's just a bit of a stinger and it'll work its way out. Let's see what the penalty's about. It came after they picked up the ball after the fumble. So I don't think it's going to affect the turnover.
After the play, personal foul, intercepting team, number 54, late hit, 15-yard penalty, first down Chicago.
Boy, that's a veteran Urlacher. So instead of having it at the 22, they'll back him up to the 37. With 20 seconds left.
Well, this is Julius Peppers coming off that backside against Jeff Backus. Quarterback's nightmare, getting hit from behind. Tommy Harris scoops and scores, or at least that's what he's trying to do. Urlacher now immediately transitions into, okay, I'm going to go get somebody. And I don't know that I saw exactly the hit that brought around the penalty. We'll see here. But again, the key here is backed them up a little bit. They were in field goal position. Yeah, late hit, pushed from behind. That's a little Bush lead there. They're about 5 yards away from getting into field goal position.
So Cutler throws and out of bounds, as Aroma should do. It'll bring up second down with 15 seconds left. That's a huge call on Urlacher right there.
It is, because it takes him out of, you can see Brian Urlacher right here. It's down, the play is over. Behind the back, that's Bush league. You got to be smarter than that.
That really is. For a player who's never been known as a dirty player, that is a cheap hit.
Some key plays here now to get into better field goal position.
Cutler. Catch made by Chester Taylor at the 24-yard line. This would bring up about a 42-yard field goal try, and Chicago will spend a timeout. 8 seconds left. Do you run one more play?
Well, here are your choices. You can certainly, and you've got another timeout. As we said, you can look up here and you can see Chicago has the timeout to burn. So with 8 seconds, you have time to run a play and get a quick timeout. You could, if you chose, take a shot down the field. You got to be prudent about it, and it better be an end zone shot, because if you throw underneath the time it takes to throw, catch, and run, you may run out of time. So you're either going to take an end zone shot, you may run the ball to improve the field goal position a little bit and quickly utilize one of those timeouts.
Well, they're going to take a chance at running a play. Catch by Olsen, run out of bounds with 4 seconds left inside the 15-yard line.
And you knew it had to be an outside throw, something that would take the receiver immediately out of bounds to stop the clock. And nice execution, quick turnaround. The whole tide of this game has gone now towards Chicago, where a minute and 20 seconds ago we thought Detroit was going to walk into the locker room with a 14-3 lead.
This will be a 31-yard field goal try by Gould, who's been pretty much automatic during his tenure with Chicago. Timeout called by Detroit.
Second charge timeout. Detroit, a 30-second timeout.
I'm sure many are wondering about the condition of Matthew Stafford. That was not a good picture of him holding that right shoulder, that right arm down along his right side, his throwing shoulder, and already with the pads off. You may remember he was injured here in Chicago a season ago.
Well, and you're right, with the pads off. You hope in those instances sometimes you get just a little bit of a burn, a stinger, takes a little while, the feeling comes back into your shoulder and you're fine. But right now, standing there with the pads off, the way he's carrying himself, I don't know. We'll have to see what happens when he comes out at the end of the half, but this does not look good. And he landed square on it.
All right, now the field goal try by Gould to try and bring Chicago within a single digit at halftime. Good snap, good hold, you betcha. 10 points in the final minute and a half of the second quarter. We wonder about Stafford. And the Visa halftime report comes up after these messages and a word from your local Fox station. Set to begin the second half here in Chicago. 14-13 Lions. You're looking at Shaun Hill. Brian Billick is a backup quarterback to Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, it'd be devastating for Detroit, not just in the game, but long-term, the development of where this team's going. Shaun Hill's been in. He'll do fine. But Matthew Stafford, so solid in the preseason, feeling good about this team. Tough blow for Detroit if indeed he can't come back.
Well, Carissa Thompson is standing by in just a moment with more on Matthew Stafford, who we noticed just a moment ago, Brian, has not even made his way out of the locker room from halftime. In the waiting seconds before the half, he already had his jersey off, his shoulder pads off, after taking a hit from Julius Peppers, and appeared to have an injured right arm or right shoulder. Stefan Logan brings it out to the 22-yard line. And as mentioned, let's send it downstairs for more to Carissa Thompson.
Yeah, guys, Matt Stafford still in the locker room. As you guys mentioned, Shaun Hill is out here. I got word from the PR staff. They said they will give me the official word as soon as they have it. But right before half, his legs still work because he kicked the bench out of frustration, very upset. Again, favoring that throwing shoulder, had his arms very close to himself as he walked in. I talked to Jim Schwartz. He said he'll get the update. But Jim, none too happy about that huge run by Matt Forte. Missed assignments and missed tackles, guys.
So it'll be Shaun Hill, 6'3", 220-pounder in his 9th year out of Maryland. He'll hand it off to Javid Best. For Stafford last year had a couple of very serious injuries. Injured a knee, suffered a dislocated shoulder in that unbelievable performance in which he came back in after throwing for an NFL rookie record 422 yards and 5 touchdowns, including that game winner to Brandon Pettigrew. Then the injury today. Shaun Hill began last year as the starter under Mike Singletary in San Francisco and is dropped by Pettigrew. It'll bring up 3rd down and 9. Hill initially came into the league out of Maryland as an undrafted free agent with Minnesota. Spent his first 4 years there, played in 1 game, did not throw a pass. In 2006, not a single pass with San Francisco. Played in 2 games in 2007. 5 of them with 3 starts in 2008. 3 games, 3 starts last year. And on 3rd down, he throws incomplete to Nate Burleson. So with Hill taking over for Stafford, it's 3 and out on the opening drive to begin the second half.
And it's not just how does your backup quarterback respond to this situation. How does your team around him? What do they think about him coming in? Is this something you have to overcome as a team? This is going to be a challenge for Detroit. Shaun Hill is capable of leading this team, but this team's going to have to rally around Shaun Hill.
Well, we've just been given the official word that Matthew Stafford's return is questionable. That is the official word from the Lions locker room. Questionable. Flag before they ever punted the ball.
False starts. Offense, number 58. 5-yard penalty remains. 4th down.
And in NFL parlances, questionable means 50-50. Which clearly to me means they're still checking it. They want to make sure it's structurally sound. We're talking about the shoulder of Matthew Stafford. I'm sure they're waiting on the x-rays. If the x-rays are okay and it's just a matter of pain, you know Matthew Stafford will be out here. But if there's anything structurally, then that's the 50% of the equation you don't want to hear about.
Harris has already punted out of his own end zone twice. And this one from the 5. Devin Hester drifting. And will let it bounce. And it will be down at the 35-yard line. So now the Bears get a chance on offense for the first time in the second half after the 47-yard punt.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by Southwest Airlines. Find our fares online only at southwest.com. By Taco Bell, think outside the bun. By Wall Street, Money Never Sleeps, September 24th only in theaters. And by Bud Light Lime, the just right taste of Bud Light with a refreshing splash of 100% natural lime flavor.
Last thing in the world you wanted to see. Matthew Stafford walks out of the locker room. And I think that pretty much gives us the final word about his return in this game.
Just so unfortunate. So unfortunate, just in terms of the growth of this team.
So the Bears down a point. Their first possession of the second half, and a carry by Forte out across the 41. That'll be a gain of 5. This goes to show you, Brian, as you get a look at Mike Martz.
Well, and how do you approach this in terms of, do you pick up on the emotional ebb and flow of this game. You know their starting quarterback's not in. What do you do offensively?
Butler on the screen to Forte, and he leapfrogs a defender, and the ball is loose. And it looked like Chicago covered it up.
Yeah, this is the last thing. Again, given the 2 turnovers they've already had, you've got the emotional flow of the game going your way. Oh boy, it was a fumble. Now clear cut, obviously they covered by the Bears, but obviously Lovie Smith's got to be concerned about the way that ball keeps popping out, because that is not going to hold up very well in a critical situation.
Well, they've had an interception, they've had a couple of fumbles, 3 turnovers in the game for Chicago, yet only down 1. Chester Taylor. A nice pickup on first down. I want to get back to Stafford for a minute, Brian, and you know, clearly it goes to show you can't take anything in this game, in this life, for granted. Your experience as an offensive coordinator and then for a decade as a head coach, of the team's reaction as you brought up to the number 2 guy, what's the critical part in all that?
Well, that's exactly right. You have to take that into account as a coach in terms of the play calling, what you're trying to do, because somehow you got to find a way for your team to rally around your backup quarterback.
Nice tackle on a little delay. And C.C. Brown.
And that's a fine line to walk, Tom. As I say, if you become too conservative, okay, I'll protect him, we'll run the ball, then you're telling your team, okay, we're not sure we trust this guy with the ball. If you just throw him into the lion's den, so to speak, and let him start winging around, a guy that probably hasn't got a lot of reps, so it's a very fine line to walk. It has to be very tightly orchestrated by Scott Linehan.
On a 3rd and 3 here. Quick strike, and it's jarred loose. Boy, C.C. Brown is playing with a hairline fracture in his right forearm. You see he's playing with a soft cast on that right forearm, and man, it has not slowed him down. He has been delivering licks all day long.
Well, you're going to see him come into the screen here. The ball comes out quick because of pressure. C.C. Brown is the strong safety, big hitter. They worry a little bit about his coverage in open space, but you don't have to worry about his ability to hit.
He said it would have taken an act of God or a stroke to keep him from playing in this game with a broken arm. Logan dropped at the 14. Good coverage by Corey Graham. C.C. Brown all smiles. He made a couple of big plays in that last defensive sequence for the Lions, forcing Chicago to punt it.
And his counterpart for Chicago, just Danielle Manning, great cover guy, not as physical.
Set up misdirection screen to Best and sniffed out beautifully by Israel Adamajeh.
I tell you, the guy that's got to start showing up here, Tom, and we have not called his name yet, really, other than one pass down the sideline that was incomplete, is Calvin Johnson. You're talking about one of the big impact receivers in this league. And obviously Chicago is very conscious of not letting him get started. He's apt to have to be a guy to get this offense going and be a help to Shaun Hill.
Johnson had the monster year 2 years ago. His numbers really dropped off last season. And Hill is sacked at the 5 by Urlacher. The initial pressure applied by Peppers. And Urlacher comes in behind him.
Just a little delayed stutter dog or blitz by Urlacher. Coming around the slice and line. Nice job picking his spot and pulling the trigger for the tackle. Boy, a healthy Brian Urlacher bodes very well for the Chicago Bear defense.
3rd and 19. Next to nothing. And really that has been a story, whether it was Stafford or Hill today. They have gotten virtually nothing out of their wide receivers. Everything pretty much laid off out of the backs between Morris and Best.
And both defenses taking the tack, you know what, we're not going to let the receivers impact the game. We're not going to give you the big play. We have enough confidence in our defense to rally and tackle. We'll let you take all that underneath stuff you want.
Fourth time today that Harris has punted from inside of his own 5-yard line. Third one out of the end zone. And Hester from his own 45 crosses midfield. Flag down as he's dropped to the 47.
Opening game of the season, open field, blocking behind the back, late hits, very typical in a first game to open the season. Typically in special teams, because it's such a large, expansive area to have to cover, it's so apparent.
Return, illegal block in the back, number 25 of the return team. 10-yard penalty, first down Chicago, timeout.
Let's Garrett Wolf.
Today's game on Fox is sponsored by the new 2011 Mustang, a whole new breed of car.
14-13, 9-10 to play in the third quarter. Brian Billick, you talked about how critically important this opening game was for each of these teams for two very different reasons. Matthew Stafford has been knocked out of the game with a shoulder injury. Jay Cutler throws on first down. Catch made by Aroma Shadu to the 44-yard line.
Okay, another Billick 101 for you. I can't think of a better guy to talk about inside linebacker stance. You got to stay balanced, have your hands ready to play, and you got to have a laser vision, your eyes through your keys. Brian Urlacher takes an aggressive, sees where his path is, and pulls the trigger. Balanced stance, hands ready to play, eyes on your assignment.
Chicago trailing by a single point. First down at the Detroit 44. Screen to the tight end Olsen. Breaks out of a tackle and picks up 9.
This is one of the little byproducts that I like of a tight end based system. When you see here, you got Greg Olsen on the edge here. You start out with protection. This goes back to the Joe Gibbs style of you block, and then you're like a chipping back coming out. If the quarterback needs you, all right, there I am. And this is like a little mini screen. Nice, cheap yardage, helps your completion percentage.
Hester in motion on a 2nd and 1. Not sure if Forte got enough for the first down. Slammed to the deck by Corey Williams, Delmas, Vanden Bosch, all of them there.
Well, Corey Williams is part of the combination now with Ndamukong Suh. You know the old saying, where's the beef? Well, it's in Detroit with Corey Williams and Ndamukong Suh. Not only big, both these guys are 6'4", inordinately tall for guys, because sometimes that's a leverage issue, but that's a lot of beef up in the middle.
Well, he was short. Third down in the yard. Bears have converted 2 of 6 third downs today, and they're going to throw it third in the yard. Knox to the 30, and a first down for Chicago.
You know, Johnny Knox and Devin Hester together may be the fastest pair of receivers in the NFL. Both are well below 4.3, and Mike Martz is going to send them deep. We may not get it to them, or they may not catch it, but you're going to back up. And that's going to give you some opportunities with the efficiency of the tight end that we talked about and crank your running game open.
Jay Cutler has thrown for over 300 yards in the game. And here we threw halfway through the third quarter. He nearly had that one stripped out of his hand. It's remarkable he had the strength in the right hand to hold on to it after Suh had made contact with the football. Boy, you wonder how strong these men are that play this game. How do you hold on to this ball?
Yeah, and it's not like Suh is a little bit of a wallflower. I mean, he's coming around that edge. That's a big arm that reached up and grabbed Jay Cutler. And Jay Cutler, when you meet him, he's got some strength about him. Here you can see Suh just beating the outside, coming off the edge on Lewis, reaching that hand out. Nice ball containment by the quarterback.
2nd and 18. Knox slipped, and there may have been confusion between Knox and Aromashodu.
Well, based on the getting the chewing from the sideline, somebody went the wrong place.
Apparently Knox was giving it back to him.
Yeah, you zigged when you should have zagged. Somebody's wrong.
Coach is never wrong, is he?
Not in the classroom, but you want to check in the locker room afterwards. You might get a little bit of discussion.
Third and 18. Cutler is incomplete on a throw. He was under heavy pressure from Sammy Hill. Hill out of Stillman, small Presbyterian school down in West Tuscaloosa, Alabama.
Again, pressure. Again, having to run out of the pocket. We've seen Jay Cutler having to move down a great deal today. Good, strong man. He almost stepped out of that as well. Got to be a little careful about throwing the ball going down, because you don't know who it is you don't see that could lead to a turnover. Chicago not able to take advantage of some good field position now.
They got to really give it up to this Detroit defense. These last two possessions, Brian Billick, as you point out, that one into the end zone. Both possessions, Chicago has had sensational field position and not scored a point. But Coach Billick, football is a funny game. Chicago, the great field position, and has done next to nothing with it. They score on an 89-yard touchdown pass when they're backed up to their own 11.
Which is a big part of it. The yards have to lead to points at some point. Otherwise, they're just stats.
First down give to Maurice Morris, and he is shellacked by Urlacher. Let's send it back to Kurt Menefee for a game break in L.A.
Well, Coach Billick, not a lot of yards on this play, but it does lead to something. Noshawn Moreno leapfrogging Jacksonville, and then a couple of study steps. He doesn't get in the end zone on that play, but a nice run set up a 1-yard touchdown by Moreno. And the Jaguars and Broncos all tied 14 in the third quarter.
Kurt, thank you very much. Second down at 13 for Detroit. Sean Hill replacing the injured Stafford. And he connects for the first time today. A reception made by Calvin Johnson, who in 14 games had 67 of them a season ago. The 24-year-old standout from Atlanta. And they're in hurry-up mode.
Which is not a bad. Chicago's beginning to bring a little more pressure, dial up the heat on Sean Hill. Hopefully this calms it down a little bit for Detroit.
They're going to hand it off on third and short, and denied the first down. Lance Briggs derailing the third down conversion.
Nice job by the Chicago Bears. Get caught short with a no huddle on a third down. Typically that causes you to be a little passive. Still brings pressure by the linebackers. You see them stepping up. They're not waiting for anything. They're going to go attack the line of scrimmage. Nice job by the Bears linebackers.
So now Devin Hester waits yet again on another punt. And this one is downed at the 25-yard line. Both defenses standing tall here in the third quarter. Stats can oftentimes lie. Jay Cutler has thrown for over 300 yards. The Lions have a total of 98 yards of offense, yet it's Detroit that leads this game with 4:11 to play in the third quarter. Cutler from his own 26, the pitch to Chester Taylor. And he'll pick up a yard, maybe two.
Chicago has got to win this game, not on just letting the defense limit Detroit. They've got to show that they move the ball fairly readily, but that they can get into the red zone, come away with points. They've had a decent day, obviously, but they have turned the ball over, something that was a bugaboo coming in. And at some point, the stats have to turn into points.
Well, they have one interception thrown by Cutler, which led to a Detroit touchdown in the opening quarter. They fumbled twice. Outstanding play made behind the line of scrimmage by Alphonso Smith. They just acquired him in a trade after final cuts were made from Denver. High draft pick out of Wake Forest, who did not play up to par in Denver, but hoping for a second chance with the Lions.
Well, the makeover of this secondary in Detroit is stunning. Jim Schwartz doing a good job. Louis Delmas, that's the anchor for it, their second-round draft choice from last year, trying to find a combination to help him on the back end.
3rd and 9. Great protection for Cutler, and he's going to run it, and he has the first down.
Jay Cutler's used to making these kind of plays coming out of Vanderbilt, because this was kind of like what he had to do his whole college career. But the guy is a gamer in that regards. He's just a ball player. He's half thinking, do I tip it off to Greg Olsen here? But now I'm gonna, I'm gonna show my toughness. I'm gonna keep the chains alive. Now this gives me a fresh set of downs. Maybe Coach Martz will let me throw it a couple times here.
So a first down out to the 39-yard line.
They ran on 1st and 2nd down before. I bet you see a pass here.
You caught it. Cutler stripped from behind, and it looks like Detroit has the football. It would be a 4th turnover of the afternoon by Chicago. Turk McBride stripped it away.
And we talk about their willingness now to keep the tight ends and backs in because of the vulnerability of the offensive line. That was a 2-man route. When you turn the ball over on a 2-man route, meaning you've given enough protection, and now he should be protected. You can see over in here, they're going to keep the tight end in. Chip, the back now helps. You got a lot of folks in the protection. Now you just get beat on the outside in a turnover. That's extremely frustrating for a quarterback when you commit all those assets to protection, and I still get sacked from behind, all but still holding the ball just a bit long.
Sammy Hill covered it up after McBride stripped it out of the hand of Cutler. And now Detroit in business. The first time the Lions have had good field position virtually the entire afternoon. The only other time they had decent field position, they scored a touchdown. Bad exchange, and Hill's going to get positive yards out of the play. How about that?
What are you talking about? That's just the way you drew that play up, Tom.
Is that one of your old plays?
Yeah, that's
back
why,
with the Ravens.
Yeah, that's why I'm in the booth with you right now. That was one of our better plays. Again, Shaun Hill's one of those kind of guys. You remember Shaun back to San Francisco. One of the things you always heard about Shaun Hill, not the prettiest in practice, but he did tend to make plays in the game. So, that's better than a loss anyway. We'll see what it leads to.
Well, the one thing he's done is win as a starter. He has a team, Shaun Hill, as a starter in the NFL. And when you have receivers drop passes, it's hard to move the chains.
It's rare. You're not going to see that much. They are jumping on this so readily because all the passes, we really haven't seen anybody go deep consistently yet. Certainly, I don't recall if Detroit has even attempted a deep pass. At some point, you got to run a stutter go, an inside break, go vertical to a Calvin Johnson or one of these big tight ends and see if we can get a big play down the field.
Best split wide left. Morris stays in to protect. And this time the catch is made. It looks like Johnson has enough for a first down. Boy, he just carries defenders with him before the whistle blows. That's a big-time throw and a big-time catch to move the chains.
Yeah, that's what a Calvin Johnson gives you, obviously. Here, obviously in the slot, just a simple in route. This guy's 6'5", almost 240 pounds, Tom. The ability for him to match up with anybody back there and outrun them. Runs a 4.39 40. Really, if they can just get it to him.
Or do they take that shot? Oh, fell down. It's intercepted by Gilman. Gets back to his feet. And dropped at the 9-yard line. The one time they do what you thought they should do. And Johnson simply lost his footing.
Whether he slipped or they got tied up, and that's the kind of throw. Shaun Hill has to throw this thing on timing. Just a little bit, just kind of ripped over himself. Illegal contact. That timing requires that the quarterback throw a little bit of blind like that, you certainly don't count on the receiver going down. Boy, what a tough break for the Detroit Lions. An opportunity to get down to scoring position. Well, you're going to pick up about 9 yards on the spot. On the goal line would be a bad idea.
Well, they're not going to check out. This will get off the play on first down. And Forte. And has a first down up to 26-yard line. We'll let you know whether he stepped out of bounds.
Yeah, elbow foot. I don't know. Right? Again, it comes down to you challenge it to 9 yards. Good point.
14-13. Fox NFL Sunday continues after a word from your local station. 15 minutes to play.
Show that it can be committed to the run.
Cutler scrambles and he's going to run it again. And chased out of bounds at the 44-yard line. Their personal note. We lost two very valuable family members and crew members in recent weeks. In loving memory of Ray Eldridge, her son Mike has been a part of our crew here at Fox for a long, long time. Our thoughts and prayers with their family, as well as to Kathleen Wagner. Mark Wagner passed away last week at his home in Cincinnati. Our statistician in the booth. God rest your soul. Cutler escapes the grip of Vanden Bosch. Crosses 45. And he'll be about 2 yards short of the first down.
Well, you've got to be impressed with Detroit's pressure from the outside all day long. And yet Jay Cutler, again, showing some athleticism. He's very used to this, as I said before, coming out of Vanderbilt. He's a good athlete, strong athlete. You just got to be very careful with the ball as you're running around. And I'm sure Chicago a little concerned that he's having to move around this way because the outside pass rush of Vanden Bosch and Cliff Averill by Detroit Lions is causing them a little problem.
A penalty, defensive holding against the Lions. Gives Chicago an automatic first down as they tend to Landon Johnson. He's already playing in place of the injured DeAndre Levy. We'll be right back.
Today's Game on Fox is sponsored by State Farm. With 17,000 agents, we've got the best lineup in the game. By GMC, the official vehicle of the NFL. And by E-Trade.
After the penalty, a 1st and 10 for the Bears. Ashley Pullman, his second year out of Ole Miss, replacing the injured Landon Johnson. Detroit with a 1-point lead, 12:20 to play. Across the field on the screen to Forte. He's inside the 45 to the 43.
And that lends itself, obviously, with the pressure we just talked about that Detroit is bringing from the outside. You need to do these types of things with a little play fake. Now you're going to see Jay Cutler get to the outside in a little sprint, little roll to beat the protection, and then that leads to a quick little screen on the backside. So Mike Martz pulling out all the stops to try to keep his quarterback upright in a hurry.
Forte dragged down at the line of scrimmage on a 2nd down carry by Turk McBride. So 3rd down and less than a handful for the Bears. Down a point as we close in on 11:15 to play. Can the Lions end a 20-game road losing streak? Can they win this season opener? They are getting annihilated in the statistical categories, but none of those mean anything at the end of the day. Who won? and who didn't. Miscommunication there.
Boy, that just goes to the heart of what we say in the Mike Martz system. You got to be where you're supposed to be, when you're supposed to be there, doing what you're supposed to be doing, and the quarterback has to trust you. Clearly, Jay Cutler thought this was going to be a nod and go vertical, which would not have been a bad read here. But for whatever reason, Johnny Knox felt like he needed to go to the outside. Again, young receiving core with a new system. Now you punt.
Mayer tried to pin them deep in their own territory again. Fair catch by Logan. 10:45 to play in Chicago. .45 to play at Soldier Field. Opening weekend of this 2010 NFL season. And the Detroit Lions without their talented second-year quarterback Matthew Stafford knocked out of the game in the final minute of the opening half. They have done next to nothing on offense all day, and the ball is loose. If the Bears have it, it could be a touchdown. They're saying a first down inside the 1.
Boy, just on the inside here, just the penetration, beating them to punch across the line. Great job by Briggs. Unaccounted for back, could not get to him or whoever's responsible. Looked like the tight end was supposed to come in today. Gap pushed by the defensive line. Briggs pulling the trigger. Huge turnover for the Bears.
Briggs of 5 consecutive trips to the Pro Bowl. They wondered would he be healthy enough to play this week. He's in a boot as late as last Tuesday after a right ankle injury in the Arizona game during the preseason.
And that's been the difficulty the last couple of years for the Chicago Bears, a talented linebacking core that quite frankly hasn't played a lot together over the last couple of years because of the injuries you alluded to.
Well, inside the 1. A chance to take the lead. Forte does not break the plane. Second and goal.
A good job on the inside. You're just going to see the good get off. Or excuse me, I'm sorry. We're to the pressure again. You're going to see Lance Briggs loop around here again. Good push by the defensive line. Comes back into a stacked position. Pulls the trigger. Scheffler could not get to his gap responsibility quick enough. Tight end, that left quarterback totally exposed to the blitzing Lance Briggs.
Asiata checks in again as an extra big body. Play action. And it's incomplete. Boy, you gotta wonder about the play call there. I mean, for crying out loud, you're inside 2 feet of the goal line.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those deals where, yeah, we want to punch the ball in. Yeah, we got to show that we can run this, but the defense knows that as well. Nice play on the backside, not taking the Chiefs. The backside trailer has to keep containing the quarterback. Nice job.
3rd and goal. Did he get there? I'm not sure he did. So now, 4th and goal.
Oh, you kicked the field goal. You got to kick the field goal. I mean, you're talking about taking the lead. Their offense, I'm talking about Detroit now, has not gained much of a yard. Their starting quarterback is out. I know you want to send a message.
So you would be kicking the field goal here.
How do you not take the lead when the opponent is, and I applaud the bravado, but if they don't get this, they bar the door.
Forte does not get to the end zone. 1st and goal inside the 1, and Chicago does not score. What a remarkable stand defensively by the Detroit Lions. Unbelievable.
Nice job by the backup linebacker. Your backup to your backup is in. Kachuba, number 50, you're going to see pull the trigger here. On the edge, shucks the block of Kellen Davis. Everybody rallies to the ball. This is what I'm talking about. Now you're still down by one. I understand the bravado. I understand the passion. The message you've got to send. Boy, you've got an energized Detroit Lions team. Now your defense has to keep them on the 1-yard line. You cannot let them out of shadow of the goal line. Make them punt from here at all costs.
Well, Sean Hill just sticks his nose forward and maybe picks up the yard on first down as we're under 9 minutes to play. Lovie Smith, before the first kick ever left the foot of Hanson again this season, Gunther Cunningham applauds his troops on the sideline. They have denied Chicago time after time after time all day.
I'm not sure you don't go vertical here. I love Bobby Bowden's don't get nervous, somebody's about to score mentality. You got to do something to change field position here. You're going to punt off the goal line.
Well, they're going to hand it off. And now it's third down at 11. I mean, this Lions offense has done nothing, and that is not being harsh.
And it goes beyond just the loss of Matthew Stafford. They've not been able to gain much in the running game. The Bears have neutralized Calvin Johnson all but for one catch. They've not been able to get the ball down the field. You got to give Bears credit for limiting the Lions that way, but it's not just the change of quarterback to Sean Hill that's been limited.
Eight guys within 3 yards of the snap on defense for Chicago.
Delay of game, offense, number 14. Penalties half the distance to the goal. Third down.
Well, it is almost as though, and you give Chicago defensively the credit as you mentioned, but it's almost as though this Detroit offense without Stafford is completely ill-prepared to do anything.
Well, you have your second-year quarterback. I don't know what percentage of snaps he took in training camp, but I'll bet you're close to 80%. I'm not trying to make excuses for Sean Hill. You got to watch the clock. You got to know when it's counting you down.
They're going to throw it. And very close to a first down. This is an extremely important spot.
Boy, this is going to be close. This is going to be close. This is where the receiver, Calvin Johnson, has to know the depth he's got to get first.
Well, he's short of a first down after spot, but at least they will not punt up against the back line of the end zone.
Yeah, the Bears should good field position off of this.
Devin Hester with 6:30 to go. Wait on the punt from Nick Harris. Returnable at the 47. And it's down to the 40-yard line. Jay Cutler and there. Trailing by one. Again, with excellent field position.
Today's game is sponsored by Chevrolet. Every model is backed by a 100,000-mile, 5-year powertrain limited warranty.
Gunther Cunningham's Lions defense has delivered so many times today against Jay Cutler and the Bears when they needed to most. But now the Bears in prime position to try and take a lead. Catch made by Forte to pick up maybe a yard. You know, Gunther Cunningham, the defensive coordinator, as you look at some of the numbers today offensively for the Bears, and it just goes to show you, you can talk about stats now until you're blue in the face. Sometimes they'll tell the story, other times they won't.
And there's just a one turnover differential here. It's not like it's hugely in the favor of Detroit to indicate the lead. All it takes is one, Tom. One down in the turnovers, and it's a 1-point game.
On a 2nd and 9. Under pressure again, and down he goes. At the 43. 3. It'll bring up 3rd down and 12. Well, what a day it's been for Turk McBride.
And in the Mike Martz system, here you can see McBride is going to come off this side over in here. They're getting great pressure on Jay Cutler. The ball has to come out quicker. We talked about the Martz system, a timing system. Jay Cutler either is just not seeing the rotation or is hesitant to throw the ball up because he's not sure that the receivers are where they need to be, and he's having to hold on to the ball.
3rd down, here comes a blitz. Cutler throws it to Aroshadu, and he is chopped down shy of the 1st down. And that's another big hit delivered by Delmas in the secondary. And the Bears will punt again.
Wow, you're talking about literally kicking out of your end zone, giving them the ball on a short field. They've had, 3, 4, 5 opportunity time inside 50 with starting drive, and to come away with no points, and you're 1 point down. At some point, this is to turn, or you're going to be in crisis mode on the Chicago sideline.
Detroit has punted 5 times today inside its own 5-yard line. Think about that. And yet Chicago has scored 13 points. Wow, what a job on defense by the Lions. Time after time after time, Lee Smith's team has had a chance to take control of this game, especially in the second half, in a great field position the entire game. And so far, every time, they've come up short. Right through the hands of the intended receiver, Burleson. On 1st down, you go back to the decision to go on 4th down inside the 1.
Well, in the National Football League, decisions are looked through the prism of one way. If it worked, you were right. If it didn't, you were wrong. To not take the lead on a 4th down, I know passion, I know what you're trying to say, but on a 14-13 game, Lovie Smith's going to be questioned about that if this indeed holds up.
And again, to put it into context, you set a time before the decision is made, you would have kicked the field goal, especially when you consider that Detroit, without its starting quarterback, has not even picked up a 1st down with Sean Hill in the game.
And you've got to believe in your defense, you've got to believe in your personnel. How do you not take the lead in the game? I mean, that may be conventional thinking, but how do you not opt to take a lead in the game?
It's a huge play in this game. If Chicago stops it, you get field position. If Detroit converts, they'll burn a lot of time. They'll roll it and just throws it away. 3 and out.
Well, Chicago's got in an understandable 2-deep zone. They'll give you anything you want underneath. You practice a 4-minute drill every day in training camp during the course of the week. Don't give the ball back to an offense when you've got the lead. Now giving the ball back to the Chicago Bears to see what they can do with closing in on 3 minutes in the game.
Well, again, they should get great field position, should. And a field goal will win it for Chicago. Hester, the fair catch at his own 44-yard line. It looked like it might be a high-scoring affair early on. The interception made by Henry, which led to the touchdown run of Best. Turnovers a big part of the story early on, but then the 89-yard touchdown pass to Forte. As Chicago scored 10 points in the final minute of the first half, we have not had a point scored in the second half. Gunther Cunningham, born in Germany, came to the United States. In Greenfield, Massachusetts, at 10 years old, he became a naturalized U.S. citizen on April 6, 2010. Congratulations to him. His defense so far has made Mighty proud. A delay to Forte, flag comes in.
This is likely to be on Olin Kreutz on the inside on Corey Williams.
Holding offense, number 57, 10-yard penalty, replay, 1st down.
On a draw play, you got to kind of pick a side and run the line past them. You're going to see right here in this matchup right here, He doesn't quite guess right. He's lost sight of it, and just that little hold taking him down. If he had let him go, he might have gotten away with it. This is big. That was big for Detroit now. That's pushed them back. They were within 10, 15 yards to get close to a field goal type scenario, 20 yards, let's say. Now they got a bigger road to hoe here.
First and 20 from their own 33, and Cutler back to throw. Steps up, sings over the middle and nowhere close to an open receiver, Johnny Knox.
That was just bad throw. Knox was where he needed to be, coming into the hole on a 4 or 6 route. That's a dig or a bend in or a curl route, and it just overthrew it. That was not a miscue. That was just a bad throw.
Second down and 20. Chester Taylor, a big game, crossing midfield to the 49. It'll bring up third down and 3. He broke a tackle of Julian Peterson, which gave him an extra 5-7 yards. Gain of 18.
Got to give the Detroit defense credit. The secondary was questioned heavily coming in. Besides Lewis Dumas, they've got a whole bunch of new people on the back end. This is a down and distance, third and about 2 or 3 that should favor the offense. Mike Martz usually likes to run little quick pick routes. Just pick up the first down yardage.
A big play in this game right here and right now. And it's caught by Olsen, a first down to the 35.
Well, we said C.C. Brown, big hitter out of that Detroit secondary, but you worry about the coverage skills. He's got Greg Olsen. He needed close on Greg Olsen. Got a good jam by the linebacker, but nice job by Jay Cutler getting the ball out of hand quickly.
We are down to the 2-minute warning. Ball at the Detroit 35 in a 1-point game. Robbie Gould's career long field goal, 52 yards. Last year, the ball right now stands at the 35, which if they didn't move another yard would be a 52-yard attempt.
No back offense. Get the ball out of your hands quick.
First down. Cutler fires. Incomplete, and a flag comes in late. And they're going to get Alphonso Smith for holding the intended target. Aroma should do.
Holding. Defense, number 27. 5-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
Well, that's a killer right here. Just as he's got his hands on as he breaks out, just that little turn of the shoulder. You saw Aroma Shadu's shoulder turn. The official, whether they saw it or not in terms of the actual hold, had to know that too much contact was being made.
So now it would be a 47-yard field goal try for Gould. They pitch it to Taylor. Puts it back to the inside. And he's down to the 20. A gain of 10 for Chester Taylor.
Now the clock becomes a factor. You play your play calls. You've got a first down inside the 20. You certainly feel good about your odds with Gould inside in this position. You don't want to score or kick a field goal leading Detroit anytime, even with their backup quarterback, to make a drive. You're going to bring this clock down as far as you can. And I would imagine we may have seen our last pass by the Chicago Bears.
Game of our doubleheader coming up next. Most of you will see Packers in Philadelphia. Some will see the Cardinals in St. Louis. Lovie Smith, General Manager Jerry Angelo, and President Ted Phillips all feeling the heat. This Bears team to try and get to the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. Right now they trail by a point with under 2 minutes to go.
False starts. Offense, number 63. 5-yard penalty. First down.
Detroit, as you can see on our board again, we tell you the timeouts up here in our Fox box. Detroit has 2 left, which obviously has to be a factor as well. They got a kind of an easy one here, but with 2 timeouts left, as they progress on, they may have to utilize one of those if indeed Chicago wants to just run the ball to give themselves some time if indeed there's a field goal attempt.
Well, right now, ball to 25. It would be a 42-yard field goal try. They hand it to Taylor, and they're back up 3 more yards. This front four for the Lions, which they overhauled after last year. Averill, the only returning starter, bringing in Williams in a trade, Vanden Bosch, along with the draft picks too. They have played splendidly here today.
Well, and it's a defense by Jim Schwartz, like a lot of coaches, is going to be built from the inside out. You utilize the asset of your second pick in the overall draft to pick up what many believe, and Gunther Cunningham tell us, best defensive lineman he's ever seen come out of college. You got a Kyle Van Bosch that's a 10-sack plus guy. Corey Williams, just a big space eater inside. Turk Bride and Cliff Averill, who got hurt a little bit earlier, solid 5-sack guy. They've got some assets on the defensive line.
All right, now it's 2nd and forever. After the loss, she'd be looking a 45-yard field goal try. Do you put it up here?
Evidently, they've got an offset back unless they're going to run a trap or a quick draw. That's exactly what they're going to do.
Butler backpedals, throws down the sideline. Touchdown! Matt Forte had an 89-yard touchdown reception early in the game. He's shaken up at the conclusion of this touchdown to give Chicago lead.
Beautifully timed throw. Matt Forte, who is a good, solid receiver, has been utilized his career that way. You got the matchup you want. Matt Forte on a linebacker. Hopefully he just got the wind knocked out of him coming down hard, and nothing more than that.
They're checking on Forte, who has 7 catches today for 151 yards, a couple of touchdowns, and a pair of touchdowns. And he's all right. We welcome many of you just joining us from around the country. Jay Cutler has just thrown a 28-yard touchdown pass with 1:32 to play, giving Chicago its first lead since very early on in the game when they were in front 3-0. Matthew Stafford knocked out of the game in the final minute of the first half with an injured shoulder on a sack by Julius Peppers. The Lions, with Sean Hill replacing Stafford, have 1 first down in the entire second half, but held the lead in the entire half until the just completed touchdown throw to Forte. Now the Bears will go for 2 to try and make it a 7-point game. And won't get it. Knocked out of the hands of Romashadu by Chris Houston. Time after time after time after time, the Lions, their defense would stand tall. But after losing Stafford, their offense has been non-existent. Cutler's thrown for a pile of yards, but he's thrown an interception, also fumbled away other. Part of a 4-turnover game for Chicago. Early on, the interception by Aaron Berry led to a Jafet Best touchdown. 3 turnovers in the first half. But then the Bears scored 10 points in the final minute and a half of the opening half. And in the second half, dominated by defense. Lovie Smith really taking off the hook. They went for it on 4th and goal from inside the 1. Detroit stood tall there. But again, after getting great field position, finally, Chicago cashes in, take the lead.
And give Chicago and Lovie Smith, an offensive coordinator, Mike Martz, credit. A lot of conventional thinking would have been, we're in field goal position, don't risk the turnover, don't risk the sack, get further pushed back on a field goal attempt, and you get rewarded with a touchdown to Matt Forte for it.
Stephon Logan, a yard deep in the end zone. And it's tackled at the 17-yard line. Great coverage by Chicago. Brian Ewu, Henry Melton, the first two there, and now with a minute 27 left and one timeout. Can Shaun Hill do something he has not done since taking over for Stafford? And that's getting more than one first down.
Well, they're going to be very passive. They're going to give him everything he wants underneath, anything but a late, deep play.
Hill lofts to the sideline, and the reception is made first of the game by Brian Johnson out to the 41-yard line. Clock down to a minute 15 as Detroit hurries to the line of scrimmage. And again, only one timeout left, and a field goal is not going to do it. The Lions need 6.
There's plenty of time here. You're going to need a couple of those types of plays.
Best trying to get to the sideline.
Out of bounds.
Nice job by the rookie. Job at best. He gets to the 49, stopping the clock at 55 seconds.
Well, the Lions have the one timeout left. That's the back pocket. Need to continue to take shots down the field. May have to kill the ball if they get it downfield to preserve that last timeout. Again, you got to think that Calvin Johnson, the size, the speed, the leaping ability is going to have to come into play.
He's to the bottom of your screen. One-on-one with Zachary Bowman. Scheffler, the tight end, at 41. Clock is down to 50. And final timeout used by Detroit. Well, they were lost about 15 seconds more than likely there, getting up to the line of scrimmage. So perhaps not a bad move.
Yeah, it's either one. You can go, you can kill it at that point, or you can do what they did and obviously call timeout. It's 6-1, half a dozen of the other, obviously.
We talked at the very beginning about the importance of this game. Brian, you thought perhaps more so than any other game being played in the National Football League today, that this game had supreme importance for these two teams, the Lions and the Bears.
Well, you just can't imagine a loss at home in the opener for the Bears. It's just, I don't know what they would have done with that. Detroit, the ability to get a win on the road, nothing harder to do in all of sports, in my opinion, than to get a road win in the division in the opener.
Hill in protection, throws to the sideline, and Johnson spins back into the field of play rather than trying to get to sideline.
They got to kill this. Give yourself a time to dial up something a little more calculated. Come on, quickly, son.
And it's like Johnson perhaps losing sight of where he was on the field, or perhaps trying to make a play.
And at this point, Tom, this is not about scheme. You can fold up the playbook and put it in your back pocket, because you're not going to scheme a Bear defense into a guy being wide open. Somebody's got to make a play. You've got size in Calvin Johnson, 6'5". Size in Tony Scheffler, 6'5". Brian Johnson, 6'3". You've got some size. Get it down the field with.
Again, Johnson at the bottom of your screen. Isolated with Zachary Bowman. Blitz coming. They throw it up to Johnson. Into the corner. Touchdown, Calvin Johnson! Unbelievable throw by Hill, and a miraculous catch. Leaping high over Bowman by Calvin Johnson. And the Lions, who had one, are they saying, wait a minute, are now they overruling and saying he did not get in bounds? The officials gathered down in the corner after the initial indication of touchdown.
The ruling on the field is that the runner did not complete the catch during the process of the catch. It is an incomplete pass. It will be third down, Detroit.
We talked about this with the officials before the game today. The process is the key word.
And you've got to continue through the play.
We will now review the previous play.
And for those of you that want to know, when the ball comes down here and touches the ground, he has to then maintain possession of the ball through the completion of the entire process of the play.
And Tom, we had a play very much like this in this very same game last year where there was a reception in the end zone. He caught the ball, came out of the back of the end zone, and then dropped the ball clearly after establishing position. This is not enough, as regrettable as it is, as much as this should be a touchdown.
All right, let's go to the Fox Command Center. The longtime head of the NFL officials, Mike Pereira, standing by. Mike, what can you tell us about the call on the field?
As Coach just said, this is the process. He's considered going to the ground, and when you go to the ground, you have to hold on to the ball after hitting the ground. It's all process. In the end zone, it's not dead as soon as he gets possession. This is one where even after you hit, you've got to maintain possession of the ball.
Mike, this is what we were talking about. I think most fans at home wonder about this kind of call, however. Johnson clearly makes a catch. He comes all the way down to the ground, and we talked about the process. He's still holding it, still in possession. He's in bounds. His body lands. The ball touches the ground, and you're saying, and we were saying, I think if we're on the same page, that he had to maintain that position even getting back up. Is that correct?
He does, well, not getting back up, but when he makes contact with the ground, and again, we're talking about him going to the ground, if that ball comes loose when he hits the ground, it's going to be ruled incomplete. You just have, it's the
Mike, let me interrupt a second.
It's been there.
Let me interrupt you a second, Mike. His body hit the ground before the ball made contact with the ground. I know he wasn't, he's obviously in the end zone, so you don't need to be touched by a defender there. His body landed and was down in the end zone before his hand with the ball in it touched the ground. Does that make the play or the call any different?
No, because it's all the process. It makes no difference what hits. If it's a foot, 2 feet, the body, it's a process, and that's what you have to think about. A whole entire process, and it's not over until it's totally over.
As we look at it here, is this a second act? Is that we talk about control, and now if the receiver lunges for the end zone or shows the second act, is that a second act?
Very good point. Was trying to reach to gain additional yards or doing something else with the play. That's what I'm sure they're actually looking at right now to see if there might be a second act. I don't think you see really him visibly reach out for the ball or do something different with the ball. Holding it in one hand, but still, in my opinion at least, and this is a tight one, in my opinion, he's going to the ground, and it's still all one process.
If they ruled this a touchdown, will it not be because of that? It is the second act. They're saying he had control, he hit, he was reaching out to kind of push himself back up. If it is a touchdown, it is that second act definition.
That's the only thing they could possibly rule, that he was trying to do something else with the ball, that he was reaching for additional yardage. That could be the only thing that could overturn this.
Mike, I know you're not in the prediction business, but you were the head of officials for a long, long time. Does this call on the field stand or not?
I was ahead of it a long time. You're right, and I'm glad I'm not now when I see plays like this.
Let's see what he says.
I still think it stands.
Here's the call.
After review, the ruling on the field stands. It is an incomplete pass. It was Detroit's ball, 3rd and 10 on the 25-yard line, and the ball will be placed on the hash mark nearest the Chicago Bears sideline.
So we thank Mike Pereira from our Fox Command Center for bringing all of us up to speed.
And what Mike is saying is very clear-cut here. They don't think there's the second act. It is continuation in the process. It's unfortunate Calvin Johnson thinking, I'm done, I've won game. Now you got to reshift very quickly. 24 seconds. There is lots of time here, and we still have the matchup. I got to believe they're going to roll their coverage to Calvin Johnson down here to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Fake, and they're throwing it down there again. And it's batted away. And Johnson looking for a flag on Danielle Manning for pass interference. 4th down and 10.
As much as you don't want to go away from maybe the best player on your team, you can clearly see what Chicago's doing over the top. Unless you think he can win the jump ball, you're going to have some matchups on the backside of that you've got to at least consider.
Well, you don't have to get touchdown on this play. do have to convert to continue this series. Blitz coming. Hill throws to the end zone, and it's incomplete. Coverage by Danielle Manning again on Calvin Johnson. And Brian, you go back to a rule, and it is a rule, but boy, there have to be exceptions to some rule. That was a touchdown catch, if there ever was a touchdown catch a moment ago.
To me, and that goes back to the question of the question I have, and obviously Mike Pereira is exactly right, but I equate this to what happens when ball breaks the plane, a runner breaks the plane of goal line, and then the ball comes out. It's a touchdown. It's a touchdown because it broke the plane. He caught the ball. He had control of it. He went to the ground. The continuation says no, even in the end zone. That has to be maintained. That is the rule. But, boy, that's a tough one to explain to the Detroit Lions fans right now.
There is going to be a word which you're going to read about all day tomorrow. The word is process. And that is the key word in that rule about the process through the completion of play. Well, Chicago gets a thrilling win. Detroit a devastating loss, and perhaps to add injury to insult, that man right there, Matthew Stafford, with an injured shoulder. 19-14 our final. Game 2 of our Fox NFL Sunday doubleheader right around the corner.